There is so much power in wanting more and going after more. And don't let your box be defined by what you only see today.
Hey friends, hey, welcome back to Side Hustle Pro Podcast. It's Nikayla here, and today I am joined by a truly inspirational figure, Marty McDonald, the founder of Boss Women Media and Elle Olivia. Marty is not just an entrepreneur, she is what I would call a visionary. After an 11-year stint in corporate America, working with various Fortune 500 companies, Marty took a brave leap towards her dream of creating a meaningful impact. She founded Boss Women Media, a dynamic platform dedicated to empowering women through networking workshops and events like the multi-city Black Girl Magic Tour and the annual Boss Woman of the Year Summit. But Marty didn't stop there. Drawing from personal challenges during her pregnancy, she recently launched Elle Olivia, a children's wear brand that champions representation and advocacy for girls up to age 5. The brand has gained traction and is now featured in over 400 Target locations nationwide. And in today's episode, Marty shares her journey from the corporate world to becoming a beacon of change and empowerment. She also shares the challenges she's faced, the triumphs she's celebrated, and her continuous mission to inspire women to chase their dreams without fear. Let's get right into it. So Marty, welcome to the guest chair. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. What an honor.
Oh my gosh, it's an honor to speak to you as well. The founder of Boss Women Media. I have seen so much of your brand before I really knew who you were. So that's a testament to the brand that you have built. But tell me a little bit more about how this all got started. You describe yourself, I've heard you describe yourself as a corporate queen turned side hustler turned entrepreneur. Yes. Let's hear about the corporate queen.
And it feels like that was forever ago.
Yeah. What was your original career path?
You know, I like to describe it this way. I did all the right things the right way, right? So my actual background of corporate America it's interesting. It definitely had a parallel path to it. When I first started in corporate America, my bachelor's degree is in interior design and architecture. And so I went right out of undergrad and got a job in an architectural firm and a design firm. So I did that for about, 4 or 5 years. And then, something interesting happened in the economy. People were losing jobs. The economy was collapsing. And I remember one day my boss coming to me telling me, hey, we're about to make a switch and you work on the design team. But if you want to keep a job, you're going to have to move to another team. And the only team that's vacant is marketing. So do you want to leave or do you want to go over to the marketing field? I said, I'll take the marketing job. Sure will. Okay.
I've never heard of that. That is so cool that your boss even wanted to keep you employed. That's a testament to the kind of employee you were. And also as someone who works in marketing, they're usually trying to cut marketing. So
Nope. They were like, you can go over here. And so I moved to the marketing department. And then what ended up happening was I didn't know anything necessarily about marketing, right? Like these people were trained. They went to some top B schools. And I said, you know what? Let me go back to school and get my MBA. I go back to school. I got my MBA.
While working at the company?
While working at the company.
Okay.
Yep. So that was really, really interesting. It was hard. It was tough. It was hard to navigate, but we did it. It took me about 1.5 years. And I stayed at that company for some time after. And then I started working in CPG marketing. I did a little stint in that. Then I moved over into restaurant marketing. And that's where I met some of the smartest people. These people went to Wharton. These people went to like top B schools, and they were really solving problems in the restaurant industry with top brands such as Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, right? Like, and I was able to really expand as a brand marketer in this space. I learned a lot. I had out-of-body experiences every single day.
Wait,
because
out of body experiences?
out of body
Why?
experiences because I was the only one who looked like me. There were not a ton of Black
Ah,
people in
okay.
brand marketing at all. And I had to assimilate to this culture that had been created around brand marketing. And it was
Mm-hmm.
definitely an interesting culture. A culture of the compliment that you wanted to receive was that she's so smart. Like, that was like the compliment that you wanted to receive in this space. It was like we were
Yes,
curing for
yes.
cancer, child, because like that's really, it was a tough
I know what you
industry.
mean. Yeah. And oh my God, how many of you can relate to that? Everyone listening. I know that you're speaking about CPG, but I think we can all relate to we hate being in this space, but we find ourselves really needing that validation to feel like we've done a good job, to hear someone say, oh, she's a rock star, right? That's another one. She's a rock star. She's
Yes.
so smart. And we should know that about ourselves already, but we
Yes.
need to hear that when we work day in and day out in these places, we find ourselves in that situation where we need to hear that. How did you
Yep.
navigate that?
It was really hard for me to navigate it. I didn't realize until I left it what I actually needed to do to solve that problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as I was in corporate America, I spent about 11 years in totality in corporate America of my career.
Okay. Did your
Um,
time?
I did my time. And then one day, it was really almost like a one day moment in time. I
Mm-hmm.
decided this is not for me anymore. I remember driving home thinking, is this what adult life is all about? It's the
Yeah.
rat race, it's grinding, it's making someone else believe that I'm good enough. And in
Hello.
that, I was like, this can't be it. I remember going to a lunch with my mentor at the time that also was in marketing, and she was the
Mm-hmm.
director. And that was like the North Star, right? Like being a CMO. Being a CMO was the North Star. She was a director. There wasn't a ton of Black women CMOs, definitely not during this time. This was like 2015, 2016 timeframe. And I remember thinking, seemed so unfulfilled. In 20 years, is this what I want for myself? Do I want to have put all this work in and then have
Yes.
left this thinking I could have done something else while I was in my 20s or my early
Mm.
30s? And so when I was 32, I was like, there has to be something more. And I ended up leaving my corporate gig. I remember going into the office,
Wow.
telling my CMO, this is it. I'm putting my notice in. I'm out of here. And she asked me this interesting question. She was like, so what are you going to go do? Almost as if I didn't have skills. I
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
smart enough. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to navigate outside
Right.
of this box that they've given
Yeah.
me.
That's
And
a
I
mind
just knew
game.
it was time to go.
Yes, and I love that you said so. Two things I want to unpack here. I'll start with the latter that you just said. That is a mind game. I know for myself and for others who have left their jobs, they have gone through a similar experience where people try to insert doubt and I think it comes out of, the saying, it's anything people say to you, it's about them. It is about them because they know they can't imagine a world where they'd ever leave a good job. And so it's like, well, what else are you going to do? Like, this is what we do out here, especially if you're of color. Like, how can you walk away from a good job as a Black woman, as a Black man, right? But then the second thing you said is, so you went to lunch with your mentor and you assessed how happy she was. That's such a good tip, you guys. If you're working at a company and you are looking at the people who are on the trajectory that you will be on, that have the roles that you're going to be promoted into, that you're trying to be promoted into, look at what that looks like for them. Are they happy?
Mm.
Could you be happy? What are you chasing? So ask
Yes.
yourself that. If you're happy with what you're chasing, then keep going. But if you're not, make a pivot. Start to think about what that pivot would be for you that would make you happy. So thank you for sharing that, Marty.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll remember the date for forever. It was
What
December
was the date?
1st, 2017. It was my
What?
last day in corporate America, and I have not turned back, and I have not
Wow.
went back thank God. And my life
Something
is
about a
so different
December
now.
quit date. So, there's just something so powerful about that, just starting the year fresh.
Yes. Yes, starting the year fresh.
Now, there are a couple of times I've wanted to go back, and
Oh,
I'm not going to lie to y'all.
1000%. I ain't gonna
I
lie
think
either.
I'm going back every
The
couple of months.
paycheck, the insurance.
The benefits, now that we have kids especially. So how have you been able to not go back, right? Like, so what was your next step after quitting? When did you start working on one of your brands?
Yeah. So when I left there in December of 2017, I ended up going to this conference in LA that spring. The conference in LA was the Girl Boss Rally. At the time, that was like one of the biggest, I would say, entrepreneurial events happening. I remember going to a breakout room. So I left my job. Me and my other friend, she actually opened up a gym here. She went to Harvard B. Like, she also quit like a really good job at a consulting firm. So we were out
y'all
here.
Y'all had a little quit club. Huh?
Yes. Like, we were just ready. Like, we were just on fire.
Yes.
So we go to this conference really with high expectations. But because I had been in the event and programming space before, I also knew clearly what I was looking to gain at this event. I remember going into a breakout session around creating like taboo brands. And the lady who was on the panel was the CEO of Sugarfina. This lady talked about how Sugarfina creates these taboo gummy bears, et cetera, et cetera.
What did they mean by taboo?
Like they had just launched a green juice gummy, something like so like really like no one would have expected, right? Very different and unique. I remember listening to her, but right before I quit my corporate gig, remember I was in brand marketing. So I'm always looking at data, consumer insights. Like it was very much so like a consumer driven position that I was in. I had just read this Nielsen data report called Black Girl Magic is Real. And it talked about the buying power and behavior of Black women. And by 2022, Black women would be the highest spending consumer, but brands were not paying attention to her. As I was listening to her say that, I'm like, she should create a gummy bear called Black Girl Magic. After she gets off this panel, I'm going to go up to her. There also was another girl on the panel, and she was this big influencer. So after the event, everybody was checking for her. Nobody was checking for Rosie. I make my way up to Rosie, and I basically said to her, you should create a gummy bear called Black Girl Magic. Of course, this is before George Floyd. Nobody is saying this out loud, right? Like, and this really changed the trajectory of everything that I did moving forward. I tell her, hey, my name is Marty McDonald. I'm the CEO of Boss Women Media. We create these programs and experiences for women to connect, et cetera, et cetera. And then I asked her this question. I said, have you ever heard of Black Girl Magic? And of course, she's looking at me like I'm absolutely crazy and like, why I can't even say that out loud. And I ended up telling her about the buying power and behavior of Black women. I really educated her in a way that allowed her to see that there was gaps in the target audience that she was serving. And I asked for her email. She gave me this email address basically that was like contact@Sugarfina, right? Like it was the nowhere email address.
She didn't really want to talk to you.
Right. And so I remember sending her a pitch deck that I go home. I was so focused on this pitch deck. My earlier and former training in corporate America prepared me for this moment that I didn't even know. And 6 weeks later, I was on a phone call with her and I was pitching her a 5-city tour called Black Girl Magic. We created a gummy bear together called Black Girl Magic. And I was able to pop up and utilize Sugarfinas to create a national footprint for myself instead of being a localized Dallas-based brand. And that changed everything for how I position myself moving forward.
That is amazing. I want to take a step back because you mentioned that you introduced yourself as CEO of Boss Women Media. When did you actually start Boss Women Media and what were you doing with it at that time?
Yep. I started Boss Woman Media in 2016 as really an outlet to gather people that I knew who wanted more. Like I would always say, do you want more? Like I just knew that there was something else. Like this corporate rat race is not just it, right? Like I
Yes.
know that these other
That's such a
people want
good
more.
question. Yes. Do you want more? That's all
Mm-hmm.
I ever want to ask people myself. And you just summed it all up with that question. Don't settle
Yes.
for less. Like, what do you really want? Do you want more? Let's help you start it.
Yes. And so I drew myself to people who wanted more because people
Hmm.
who want more, you can dream with. They're not
Yes.
afraid to hear your dreams and you're not afraid to hear theirs. And so
Hmm.
really it was very small. I mean, it was like when I first started, we had 25 people. To think
Yes.
about how I went from 25 people to streaming on Amazon with 500,000, it just blows my mind. But that just goes to show that there is so much power in wanting more and going after more. And
Hmm.
don't let your box be defined by what you only see today. And so that's
Yes.
how I started. I mean, it's
Yes, you're dropping
small
gems, and
beginnings.
you say it so casually. I always I'd like have to put a pin. Like, don't let. What did you just say? Don't let your
Your small
whatever.
beginnings like put
Yes,
you in a box. Like,
and don't just because you just see those 12 people, right? That you just
mhm,
start with today. Don't think that it's not going to expand and be something greater than you could even imagine.
yes.
Something that drives me is when I look back, and this might happen to you too, but when I look back at what I've accomplished since quitting my job, right? Everything I've accomplished, I didn't imagine. Like I couldn't have
Yes.
imagined. So what
Yes.
inspires me is the fact that what's coming is something beyond my imagination.
Hmm.
And that goes for you guys too. It's beyond your imagination. So just
Yes.
get excited.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
Now, were you trying to monetize it while you were side hustling? Were you charging attendees for events? Like how were you starting to make money?
Yeah, so I was charging attendees to come to the events, but to be completely transparent with you, I did not know how to monetize it. I did not know
Ah,
how to monetize it. And events do not garner money, right? Like
yes.
for somebody who like just wants to throw events, no, that doesn't necessarily always garner money. There's a
Right.
strategy behind it that you have to
Yes.
put forth. And I had to learn the really, really hard way. But
What's
I
the
didn't
strategy?
know.
Because I still haven't learned. When I tell you, I don't ask me to do an event. I don't want to do an event.
You have to get people who want to be a part of your
Yes.
audience to pay
Mm-hmm.
for the programming. And we have to switch our language. It's not an event.
Mm-hmm.
This is programming. This is
Yeah.
programming that impacts X amount of people, that meets the measures and the goals that someone else has who has
Mm-hmm.
bigger dollars to give to you, right?
Right. And how do you not end up overspending because we are trying to make it Instagrammable, overspending and having to charge your audience exorbitant fees?
Oh my God. Like you have to put your budget together beforehand and stick to what your budget is, right? I think that so often the audience of women can sometimes be hard to please, right?
Mm,
And so you have to be strategic in what you're
yes.
communicating that you're going to deliver for what they're
Yep.
going to receive at this
Mm,
price point, right? But then the receiver of that has to understand what they're getting and how they're going to be impacted by it. So I think it's a two-way street of how you put the strategy together. A communication plan is the best and the most concise way if you're asking an audience to pay for something of what they're going to
mm-hmm.
receive from it.
Now, when you made the leap, were you profitable or were you at least earning revenue consistently from your side hustle?
No, I was not earning any revenue at all. I had
What
a
was your
big
plan then?
hope and I had a lot of big dreams. But when I left my corporate job, right when I left, I was planning our first large summit. And I just knew like this was going to be the thing. It was going to put us on the map, right? And at that summit, my largest check that I got was a $500 sponsorship. But it was more so the mindset of the dollars,
Okay.
right? So I think I netted positive from that event. I didn't come out in the red, but it was more so the mindset of believing. If someone gave me $500 Somebody could
Yeah.
give me $5,000. If someone gives me $5,000, I could get 50 or I could get
Mm.
$500,000. But
Hmm.
it all started first with me believing I could get that first check. Once I got that
Yes.
first check, that was it for me. It was like, let's take off. Let me build this ship and fly it and show the power in which I'm building. The checks will come.
And what exactly is it that you set out to build?
Mm-hmm.
Because what it sounds like is you did a proof of concept. Got
Mm-hmm.
only 500, but netted positive. But then that proof of concept showed like, I have created this. What
Yep.
was the this?
Yes. So at the time, my goal was to create an offline online women's empowerment community, right? And then create this media component in it where I could story tell these women's stories. Like that's something that I'm so passionate about. I love hearing the stories of women who have overcome. I love
Me
hearing the
too.
stories of women who they had the obstacle in front of them, but then they were able to push through. Those are the stories that
Yes.
our community needs more of. And so I wanted to bring those stories to the forefront so that any woman could know anything was possible for her. But I didn't necessarily know how to monetize that, but I knew that's what I wanted to create. Once I started learning more about sponsorships and partnerships and how to navigate that space, that's how I knew I was going to monetize what I was
Mhm.
creating.
I love that you share this because those of us who are creators, let's say you're creating content about, it could be fashion, it could be business topics, entrepreneurship. It's so easy nowadays to create content and for that content to do really well. We don't talk enough about the monetization piece. I'm
Mhm.
passionate about it, especially as it relates to podcasting. And I am trying my best to share and teach and all of this. But I love that we're having these conversations because it's so important when you go into any space, when you create, that you know what possibilities exist to monetize and that you know that monetization isn't a bad word. Are you ever
Yes.
approached by people who expect you to do this all for free? Because it's women's empowerment, right?
Yeah, I think that that's so good because I think that for a while I thought I was supposed to do it for all for free, right? Like
Mm.
I would always say I don't want to capitalize off of my community, right? Like
Ooh,
I just don't want to capitalize. And I had to shift my brain around this isn't about capitalization, right? I'm going to
yeah.
bring along the right people that can serve as a resource to help alleviate, right? But I'm
Yes.
delivering out some dynamic programming, right?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
giving you the voices of Yara Shahidi and Megan Good and
Mm.
all of the women, the Valerie Jarrett's, the women that we've had in programming, right? You get to see and be a part and listen and take in this information, right?
Yes.
There is a value to that. And so I had to shift my brain and say, this isn't about I'm capitalizing off of my community. Instead, I'm delivering a resource for my community that's needed in the
Oh,
marketplace.
yes. And how are you able to get this caliber of guest, pay for them, pay for the event itself, and still make money?
Yeah. Oh, listen, from
Listen,
the
I need to know.
the beginning of all of it. I remember when we first reached out, our first big speaker was Angela Rye. It was in
Okay.
2018. We had Angela Rye. We had an event at the W Hotel. And our sponsor was Verizon, right? They were able to
Hmm.
help leverage a lot of the programming that we put in place, a lot of the negotiating that we put in place, right? But I won't sit here and act like it was done right the first time because it was not. There were a lot of lessons learned. There was a
Hmm.
lot of falling on my face, right? Failing out loud. But there's an opportunity for any brand to get in front of the right audience at the right
Hmm.
time if you're delivering what it is that they want. There are some people who are speakers who will do it for free based off of the audience that you're giving them. How do you negotiate the value of what you're bringing to the table? Can you share with them an email list? Can you share their brand in front of your audience, right? Like there's different ways to think about it versus
Hmm.
I got to get money to get this speaker to pay for this
Yes.
venue, right? There might
Yes.
be venues that want to do it for free because or do it at a discounted price because they're looking for value and exposure. And so I never look at it and go at it of I
As a
gotta have this
transactional
much
piece.
money for
Yeah.
this, right? Instead, what are the relationships and how do I make this an approachable two-way negotiating street that works out for every party that's involved?
Yes. And I can tell you are very gifted at this just based on, again, the caliber of guests that you have, the experience you have created, and the community you're building.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Now, I will say this. The piece of just empowerment is not enough, right? Like there has to be more to it, right? There
Say
are
that
a
again.
ton
Yes.
of empowerment organizations, right?
Yes.
Don't allow what you bring to the table to stop there. Women need more than just to be empowered. They need tools, they need resources, they need funds, right? And so when I'm talking to organizations that have some of these same goals in mind, that's what I'm ensuring that's being brought to the table that I don't necessarily have the resource or manpower of, but some of my partners do. And together we can create a force to change the way Black women are being served.
Yes. Do you have like an example of that? How do you actually execute that?
Yeah. So like we've had a partnership with Capital One this is going on our 5th year, right?
Oh, nice.
And with Capital One, we cross collaborate with different departments, right? So we work with a department within Capital One that helps with the programming side. But we also work with their small business team that helps with grants and funding, right? So that when we deliver the programming for the year, we know that we're going to give out $100,000 in pitch dollars every single year, right? So they're going to get the programming behind it, but they're also going to get the dollars and the funds that they need to really elevate their businesses. When we are able to give that woman a check for $50,000, that can change a lot in someone's life. And so that's really what I think about when I'm going to partners. How can we work cross-functionally together? Because a lot of these corporations do have the funds and the wherewithal, but they don't have the people, right?
Yeah.
To make it all come together. And if I could be the brain for the people to make the story all come together, that's where we sit. That's a really sweet spot.
This is all so inspiring, Marty. And I'm curious, what did it look like in the very, very beginning? Once you left your corporate job, what were the first steps? How big was your team? And what did it look like day in and day out? Are you working out of your living room with an assistant only as you build up this major platform?
Yeah. So when I did that pitch to Sugarfina C, we ended up going on that 5-city tour in 2019. And let me tell you who popped up with me. It was me, my social media manager / friend at the time, and my balloon guy. I had the balloon guy because
balloon guy was one of the first hires.
Listen, the balloon guy could create all the magic in the Instagram, right?
Yes,
the look, the feel, right? The social media girl knew how to capture and tell the story in a way that the audience online would be drawn in. And then in each city, what I ended up doing was I ended up hiring someone that could get us PR in each of those cities because I didn't have the dollars to hire PR, this big PR firm, right? So I would find like local people who was doing PR in LA or in Houston, right? And I would ask them, hey, could you get us on a morning show? Could you get us featured in something? And you know any influencers who can come, right? And so I was really nimble. There was no team when we first started, right? Like it was me, and me, right? And then asking for help. Don't be afraid to ask your network for what you need from them.
Yes.
And that's really, man, the people who helped me in them early days, man, I owe them so much. I mean, they leaned in, they bought into the vision, they understood what I was trying to build and create, and they went with it. And everybody wants to be a part of something. So don't be afraid to ask, because everyone wants to be a part of something great. And so that's how we got started at the beginning.
That's awesome. And I love that everybody does want to be a part of something great. And when you believe in yourself, it just shows. It just shows like, no, this is serious. And you mentioned being nimble. As someone who quit without having a consistent revenue stream, how were you staying afloat as you built up your business, and how were you growing it without having that recurring income?
Yep. So remember, I had shared earlier, I was in an environment that I really didn't have the ability to flex my muscle to get confident, right? When I left my corporate gig, I ended up going to work as a contractor at my at my church. And I was helping our first lady build out some stuff for the women's ministry. When I got into that space and that role and I was able to help her, I used every single dime that I was getting as a contractor from doing that, and I poured it all back into Boss Women Media. That's every piece of how we built every single thing that we had. So I was side hustling and hustling full time. I was like grinding. But when I was also in that environment, every idea I had to them was fantastic. It was great. And so my muscle of confidence started to get even stronger. I was flexing that muscle more and more. So as I was going out to pitch for business opportunities, I became even more confident and more stronger. And so I would encourage anyone who's in an environment that doesn't necessarily allow their light to shine right now, go find you a volunteer opportunity, right? Go find you something else on the side that will allow you to flex your muscle of the strengths that you have. You will be surprised how that shifts everything and what you're delivering. And so that was really big for me.
That struck a chord with me. I am over here feeling emotional, and I don't know why, but I think it's because I have been there. I know y'all listening have been there. Let me tell you, if you are in an environment where you do not feel confident, where you feel unlike yourself, get out. Do what you have to do to get out. Move somewhere else. We're not telling you to go out here and be broke. Move somewhere else, because as Marty has shown, it makes a world of difference. I have been in that environment working for a brand name company, but feeling like I was looked at as dumb. And then as brilliant as we are, I started to feel dumb. I started to feel less than. I was hearing feedback like, you're not this enough. You're not that enough. And I was internalizing all of that. Get out. Get out, get out. It's one thing to get constructive feedback, to work on your evaluations, right? It's another thing to be slowly being beat down. And you got to recognize the nuance there, because when you're in an environment where you're not only appreciated, where you're actually celebrated, the difference, what will come out of you, your soul and your spirit, 10 times difference. Okay. So I'm going to leave it right there. But oh my gosh, that really, really resonated with me. And it was because of a volunteer experience for me as well. So volunteering might be the move. That is the move. And also another tip there that you shared is, if you feel like you need to leave, what contract work can you do so that you still do have income when your company that you're building is not yet able to pay you, right? So there are different ways that you can hustle, where you might go from a 9 to 5 or 9 to 8 that sucks all your time, or you might move from that to something where you work 3 days a week and you make enough to cover your bills, but now you're able to also grow your side hustle even bigger.
Yep, absolutely.
So now I want to transition to learn a little bit more about some of the more personal things that you shared in your bio, and I appreciate you sharing this, because that level of transparency, not everyone's always comfortable with, but you talked about the impact that your daughter had on your career path. So here you are growing Boss Women Media. Then you are also, you're starting your family, you're trying to get pregnant, you're having different experiences with that. Can you share a little bit more about that with the audience?
Yeah. So me and my husband have been trying to get pregnant for some time. We had 2 miscarriages. And there was God's timing is incredible, right? Like
Yeah.
there's nothing like God's timing. And God is,
Yes.
my faith is my North Star in everything that I do. But we ended up getting pregnant in 2020, one of the
Ooh.
most interesting times to get pregnant, right? And so everything was shifting in the world, right? We're in the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic and the
Yep.
world really went silent too, And so it allowed me to embrace being pregnant very differently. But when I was 24 weeks pregnant, I ended up finding out that my daughter would be born with something called congenital diaphragmatic hernia, which basically meant that her liver, her spleen, and her intestines would be in her chest, covering her lungs,
Wow.
and that we would have to have a surgery to move everything into its respective places. When I found that out, we ended up having to change our delivery plan.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who grew up in very humble beginnings, someone who I am the first college grad in my family, first generation
Mm-hmm.
to get an MBA, right? I didn't grow up with a ton, right? To be able to have this hospital birth that was a private birth meant a lot to me, but that kind of got taken away from me. And we ended up having to deliver at a county hospital because the county hospital was connected to the children's hospital. And that would be safer for her versus being
Mm-hmm.
life flighted over. It was so risky. And so we ended up doing that, changing my birth plan. That was really tough, but I made the sacrifice because it was the right thing. I wanted my baby to be born and to be healthy. And so she ended up delivering 3 days after she delivered. We ended up having a surgery to
Wow.
move everything into its respective places. And we ended up staying in the NICU for 35 days for her to completely develop and heal her lungs because everything was covering it. And that NICU experience was something that taught me as a new mom, I had to pull up for her. No one in this hospital looked like me and my husband. We were being asked questions that were, to be honest, insulting. Are you married? Are
Mm.
you on government assistance? Like, different things like that, because we were a Black family. We are a Black
Mm.
family. And from that experience, it taught me very quickly, I have to learn how to advocate for her life. I have to
Yep.
teach her how to advocate for her life. And
Yes.
I have to show her big possibility in this world. I have to show
Mm-hmm.
her that anything is possible so that she's not in spaces and places where she feels like she's the only and she's the first,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
it was a big life lesson that I learned very quickly as a new mom.
Thinking about that experience and really processing that and just thinking about just how you must have been feeling in those moments, having to go to the NICU every day and deal with that. But also, you're right, as a parent, we no longer get to be like, I'm having a bad day, so I can't get out of bed today. I just need to be in bed and get some food and just, woe is me today. Nope. We, we got to get
No,
up, stand up and support these little humans. And not only did you do that, but then it birthed a whole different kind of baby, right?
it
So
did. It
when
did.
did the seeds of Elle Olivia start to come together?
Yeah. So, okay, I'm building boss. Do not have the space, the bandwidth to create anything else. Like
Yeah.
this was not something that was in the plan, but that's how I
Mm-hmm.
know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because it was not on the vision board. It was not in the plan, none of the things. But I remember about 8 months after we left the NICU, we ended up going on a vacation. I was able
Mm-hmm.
to sleep a little bit, rest a little bit. And when I came back home, for some reason, I was going into Target to look for something. Because listen, all the mamas going to Target, and you go to Target, you can go in that toddler section. You're going to look to see what you can find real quick.
Right.
And when I went over to the toddler section, I was looking for something that showcased it diversity, and I did not see it at all in Target.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember leaving out of Target, having this really out of body experience come over me. And what I thought was, I'm supposed to create it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to create something that showcases this Black little girl and showcase all the possibilities and these affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going into my car, I actually recorded myself when I left out of Target saying, I'm supposed to go create this thing. I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what to do. And it was like really like that. It was so serendipitous in so
Yeah.
many ways. And I got on the phone. I called my creative director who'd been working with me with Boss for forever. I give her, I tell her what happened. I tell her this idea that I have. And I go, show me a design of a character. Show me this girl. I don't know what she looks like. She's brown. I can see her, but I can't see her. She's bright. She's colorful. She's playful. Like she's artistic. She's uplifting. And she brings back this illustration. And I'm like, this is it. This is Elle Olivia. I am about to go create a lifestyle brand for Black and brown little girls.
Yes.
And things happen really quickly. So this is September 2021. February 2022, we launched this brand called Elle Olivia. We launched the brand, and it was just sweatshirts when we launched. We didn't have much, and we had a book. In May of 2022, I said, I want to come out with a Mommy and Me collection, and we want to do a play and lay set, something that little girls can play in and they can lay in, that's easy and that's accessible, that maybe is sustainable, that is breathable, that's soft on their skin. And I remember doing this campaign. It was called Play and Slay. It was May 2022. It was coming out Memorial Day weekend. We hired some influencers to roll this out with us. And I took it and I sent it to Target. I said, hey, there's this collection that I'm working on and that I'm creating. It's called Elle Olivia. I showcased all of the things that I did for our first campaign rollout. And I shared with them that there was a white space in their store. And we ended up getting an offer to come into Target that fall. So this is May 2022, October 2022. We ended up getting like a line review from buyers. 2 months later, we got our first reward to go into 400 Targets with a fall collection and then a holiday collection for Elle Olivia. And really,
that's
all
incredible.
of 2023, that's what we
incredible.
worked on, which was crazy.
How are you funding that? Was Boss Women Media reinvesting into this new business before you were earning anything from it?
Before or still not? No, Boss Women Media was definitely the funder of the dream, Elle Olivia. So our first order, I invested about $20,000 into our first order in our first campaign, and that's how we were able to get out the door and into the marketplace. And then as we entered into Target, that was a whole nother beast of a whole different type of funds and a whole different type of prayer that went up for us to be able to get that order out of the door. But it has literally been one business was sustainable to fund the next business to get us to where we are trying to go and becoming this lifestyle brand for Black and brown little girls.
Love it. And so your first run in Target was really 2023, right?
Yes, September 2023.
September. So we're still within that first year. How's it been going?
Here's the thing. I thought I got into Target. You couldn't tell me nothing. Okay, like what? We're not even a year old. I got into Target. I am so excited. I'm so filled with joy. And then I started realizing Target became a label for me, right? Like I'm telling everybody, we're in Target, but we're in Target. But girl, you're in Target. You got to stay in Target. And that has been really an interesting ride of lessons for me, right? Like, how am I driving their category forward? How am I getting consumers in the door? We're a brand new brand. So we don't have a brand following, a community. We're building this community. And so learning how to communicate this product-based brand that we have, who it's being marketed to, how we're really focused on this mom who seeks to shop with intentionality, right? Like how we're really serving her and her daughter it's been hard. It's been tough. It's been challenging, but it's also been so rewarding to see little
Yes.
girls put on our clothes and say, Mama, it looks just like me. Like she looks
Yes.
just like me. And that's been so rewarding. And we're just getting started, and we've gotten a lot of lessons in the book in our first year. We're really excited about it. Retail is hard. It's hard. But it's been worth it.
I hear that refrain. I'm glad it's been worth it. As you said that, I realized a common thing with marketing that I always tell people about is, so the call to action, right? What you're trying to get people to do, the call to action, like the last thing you say to people, like go here or do this, is so important because you want to make sure you're streamlining that as much as possible. I hate in a post or an ad when they're like, go listen to this episode, and then they link out to the full catalog. So now people got to go dig for it, right? Instead of linking to the exact episode. So with Elle Olivia, I imagine it's hard because here you want people to drive units in store so Target can see your impact, but then that's harder to measure versus a click to a website. So I imagine that part is kind of tricky too.
Yeah. I mean, our first order we got, 70,000 units, right? So we had to push through 70,000 units. That means we had to get, at the minimum, if you're buying one set, 70,000 people into those doors, right? And so we also are a very small business with very small marketing budget, right? So like, how do we become strategic and nimble? And we've done it before. We know how to, right?
Yep.
But like, how do we do it in a way that drives guest check, right?
Yes.
We haven't done it from that perspective before. But we have done it from the perspective of, building out community. And that's really what we're focused on right now. We're focused on building out community and resources for this Black and brown mom who's serving her daughter, and allowing our Black and brown little girl to see herself in the clothes that she's wearing is our first pathway. But there are several other pathways that we want to take. I like to say, Nike's not an apparel brand. They're a marketing company that sells apparel, right? Elle Olivia is not an apparel company. We are a lifestyle brand for Black and brown little girls. But our first way to kind of put the stamp on who we are was to launch with apparel. But there's going to be so many different things that we do to really create our mark.
Yes. And I imagine your experience in CPG has come in handy with all of this brand building, right?
Yes. 1000% brand building, how to tell our story. My story is the forefront of even why I started this, right? If that experience didn't happen to me in the NICU, right? If I didn't have that NICU experience, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about Elle Olivia, because it wouldn't be something that it would have been, something that impacted me that I would be telling a story from, right? And so my story of how I understand how advocacy and representation is so important is why I am building this brand out.
Absolutely. Tap into your story, you guys. Really think about the experiences you've had that have shaped who you are today. There's a reason for those experiences, and there is a story that you need to tell. And if you are waiting for an aha moment, try starting to tell your story. I promise you that the clues will start coming after that, after you start to share.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the lightning round, Marty, I need to know, one, how are you doing all this? How big is your team these days? Who is on your team? How are you doing this?
Yeah, so our team now, we have a social media director, copywriter, we have a creative director, we have a website, an email developer. We also have a marketing consultant, a PR consultant, and then an EA. That is our fierce and mighty team. It's about 8 of us.
Wait, what happened to the balloon guy?
Oh, listen, he's still here. He is still ride or die for us.
Because you have the best balloons I have ever seen. Yes.
Yeah. And we call him, we are doing a photo shoot next week, and he is on deck and on on the team to deliver what we need.
Right. And are they working on both businesses? Everyone you
Yeah.
just mentioned? Okay.
Yeah. So they're crossed over. They work on both businesses.
And then are these contractors or full-time, like you have salaried positions under you? Because I think the stress is different, right?
Listen, yes, it is. Everybody is a 1099 employee on our team.
Okay. Who is on your life team, your family team,
listen,
to help you manage two
this,
businesses?
I couldn't do any of this without my husband. Like, man, my husband wants me to win. And that's why I'm able to dedicate so much time to all of this, right? Like, that's helpful. But not only did I get pregnant with Elle in 2020, but in 2023, I got pregnant with twins.
What?
And so I have 9-month-old twins now. When I was delivering our target order, I was about to deliver the twins 2 weeks later. So it was a lot going on for sure.
You don't say.
So in terms of like my life team, it's totally different now. Like, I'm not even trying to act like I do this by myself, because I don't. My mother-in-law is a force. She helps us so much. I got a night nurse for the twins when they first came. That helped so much. We have a part-time nanny that comes and helps. Like, none of this happens by yourself. And people used to say it takes a village to raise a kid. And as a mom now, I know exactly what that means. It takes a ton of support to raise little human beings. And then also, I'm really, really strategic on my schedule. So with everything going on, I actually don't say yes to a lot of stuff anymore, right? Like, I don't have the time or the space to. And so on Wednesdays are carved out. I don't necessarily take meetings on Wednesdays. I use that as a time to take the kids to the doctor. I spend time with the twins on that day. I use that as my day. And then on Fridays, I use that as a half day to like mentally take a break and pause and allow myself to reset a little bit. And so I've figured out the schedule and the cadence that works for me, my family, and my mental health. Because if my family is not good, it doesn't matter what I'm doing at work, right? None of that matters. My family is my number one priority, hands down.
Same here. And you too, right? If your mental health is not good, none of this works, because we are the core right there. So we have to make sure that we are good. And so I thank you for sharing about your team. You know, having a child, obviously it takes a village. It also takes money. But we have to keep working to keep making all the money that they require.
Yes, we do.
Oh my gosh. I am laughing, but it's a serious thing, guys. But I appreciate that. I think, I knew you had 2 kids. I don't know why I didn't remember about the twins. So that is just blowing my mind right now. That
blows mine every day too. Okay.
You wake up, you're like, whoa, what y'all doing here?
Yes. I'm like, man, God, like, you really gave us what we lost, right? Like, we had 2 miscarriages, and like, you gave that back to me tenfold. Like, and I'm like, now, God, you got to give us the funds to be able to take care of these children as well.
And the funds to take a break. It's funny because I'm like, man, I feel so rejuvenated when somebody else watches my kids for a bit.
Yes.
I need more funds to do this.
All of that. Yes.
So, okay, I have kept you too long. We have to jump into the lightning round. I could talk forever because I really love the fact, you guys, that she has not only a digital platform that's helping so many events and empowerment, actual tactical pitch money and resources for your business, and then also a physical product-based business inside of Target and beyond. I don't often talk to guests who are doing both. So I could talk to you forever, Marty, but I'm going to go ahead and pin it here and jump into the lightning round. So you'll find out where you can keep hearing from Marty in this round. All right. So now let's jump in. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Number 1, what is a resource, not Google, that has helped you in your businesses that you can share with the Side Hustle Pro audience?
Yeah, I would say the number one resource that I've been able to utilize in my businesses, I would say it's two.
Hmm.
Someone who understands financials. So a CFO, someone who
Okay.
can project out and can know where you
Yes.
are today. We
Yes.
have to know more about where our money is coming and going. We can't,
Hmm.
if we're a business owner, we have to know the numbers, right? And we can't avoid the numbers. And then number
Hmm.
two, having a startup lawyer to be able to utilize for trademarks and copyrights and like all of those things. Those are two resources that are not sexy and they're not glamorous, but those are resources that every single business needs. And those resources have helped me immensely in my business.
Number two, who is a non-celebrity Black woman entrepreneur who you would trade places with for a day and
Mm.
why?
Ooh, I of recent have been really drawn into the story of Emma Grede, who's
Mm,
the founder of Good American. I
yes.
absolutely love what she's created and how she's making a way. I literally could connect with her. Like there's so much synergy. I love what she's doing. I see this in my future. And so yeah, I would any day sign me up. Emma, if you're listening,
Yes.
like
Yes. I
please,
see
I would
that.
love to.
I could totally see you, on Shark Tank and all of that. So yes. Number three, what is a non-negotiable part of your day these days?
A non-negotiable part of my day is every single morning. I have this app called Powerful Thoughts. It's by Joyce Myers, and I read every single day, whatever that daily devotional is
Hmm.
around how to really reset my mind.
Hmm.
While I'm drinking my coffee and drinking my 8 ounces
Yes.
of water. Like, if I don't get water anymore throughout that day while I'm reading this, I'm drinking my water and I'm reading something that really sustains me and nurtures me, and gives me exactly what I need to say, what I want my day to be.
Yes.
I think that we have the control over what we want our day to be, and that sets the tone for me.
Number four, what is a personal habit or trait that has helped you significantly in your business?
Consistency, consistently showing up when I don't want to show up, when it's hard, when I ain't got
Yes.
no money, when I'm dead broke, when I got a lot of money in my bank account. Like I continue to show up. I say it all the time. You can be the most talented person in the room, but if you don't show up, nobody cares. And
Mm.
like I know I'm not the most talented person in the room. There are so many more people that are way more talented than I am, but I'm consistent, and I can guarantee you that I'm always going to show up on what I say that I'm going to deliver. And I think that that's the thing that sets me apart.
Love it. And then finally, what is your parting advice for fellow Black women entrepreneurs who want to be their own boss but are worried about not having a steady paycheck?
Oof. Listen, it depends on the stage of life that you're
Mm,
in, right?
yeah.
Like so you have to evaluate the stage of life that you are in, right? To
Hmm.
know what you can sacrifice.
Yeah.
But I will say there's no such thing as an overnight success. And an overnight success is 10 years in the making. And that if you put your head down and you grind really hard and you do it right and you allow miraculous works to take place,
Hmm.
that's the key ingredient. You got to allow space for miraculous works to take place. That's the advice I would give you. Allow space, do the hard work, right? But don't try to control and manipulate every situation, because then you're not allowing those God moments to come into place and to really take root on what God wants to do in your life as well.
God told you to whisper that to me today. And I hope that y'all had that experience as well. So we thank you so much, Marty, for being in the guest chair. Where can people connect with you and continue to get your gems after this episode?
Yeah, you guys can connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram is Marty T McDonald. You can follow us at Boss Women Media Instagram, or please, please, please go and support our line at Target. Our Instagram is shop Elle Olivia, ELLE Olivia, or you can find us on our website, shopolivia.com, and to see how you can support us at your local Target on our Target Finder. We have our spring collection in Target right now, and it's super, super cute.
Ooh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for showing us all the places. We'll be sure to link to all of them in the show notes. Thank you again, Marty, and I will talk to you next week. Hey guys, thanks for listening to Side Hustle Pro. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other side hustlers just like you to find the show. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. Plus, sign up for my 6-bullet Saturday newsletter at sidehustlepro.co/newsletter. When you sign up, you will receive weekly nuggets from me, including what I'm up to, personal lessons, and my business tip of the week. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/newsletter to sign up. Talk to you soon.